mean, look, I think that my favorite thing about Carlton is this is a character that when fans first met him, they weren't fans of him, right? And I think that was really important in the journey that you see him go through throughout all four seasons. And so I think with this season, my main goal was just I want everyone to understand the full picture of who Carlton is. In the same way that Carlton has learned to accept his own faults and his own shortcomings, my goal is for the audience to follow him in that journey and accept him in the same way. And I think we really found that, between a lot in a lot of the scenes that we shot, the stuff that the writers have written, I think that Carlton's arc is maybe my favorite character arc of all of television, which is a crazy thing for me to say. I know, but I think so, yeah.
So, what can you tease about where we find him emotionally this season?
Man, oh, that's crazy. I'm never allowed to say anything, but what I will say is Carlton is kind of at a crossroads right now. It's a senior year. He's getting ready to go off to college. And I think the goal of college has played such a pivotal role in who he is and how he's become who he is. And so having to reconcile with you know, having college define his identity is a really interesting journey for him. And by the end, he lands at a place that I know that fans are going to be really, really proud of him for.
Now, Carlton has been called the emotional anchor of the series. What's been the most challenging or rewarding aspect of portraying Carlton's depth and vulnerability over these four seasons?
I mean, I can tell you two things. Well, I'll answer actually both questions, the most challenging and the most rewarding. The most challenging thing is as a cast, we are all too close. We like each other way too much. We have way too much fun on set. And so I think it's really hard to pull up to set and have, a really dark, really sad scene while everyone else is partying, and crafty, someone's making a joke. So I think it's been a really interesting exercise for me as an artist in being able to sort of take the energy in the room and see it for what it is, but still be focused in my own thing. Because we all love each other. We all want to come to work and love on each other and say hi and tell funny stories. But sometimes I come to set and I have a job to do. Um, but I will say the most rewarding thing is just seeing the real day-to-day impact that this character has had on people. I've had people reach out and say that they're on their journey of sobriety, and Carlton is a character that they resonate with and that has helped them. I've had, young kids come up to me and say how Carlton has sort of taught them the importance of experiencing the width and breadth of their emotions. So that is ultimately why I do this. It's to make people feel things and to give real world impact. And so seeing that has just been so incredible.
Now, speaking of that cast dynamic, how would you describe the creative energy this final season compared to when the cast first met for season one?
Raw. Man, this is a really raw and open season. And a lot of it is because, we've always known that the show would be about 4 to 5 seasons, just because that's the story that Morgan Cooper had always set out to tell. But going into the season and knowing for a fact that this was the end, I think we all got the chance to just truly, truly leave it all on the screen. And we've always done that every season, but this season felt more potent. There was this scene that we shot. It was me, Jabari, Simone, and Alicia, and we're on the beach. And it was just this really beautiful full circle moment because me, Jabari, and Simone's first day on the show, we had shot on the beach. And that scene is, I would say, the most beautiful scene I have ever shot. And so the whole season just feels so rich with love and it doesn't feel like a goodbye. It feels like a see you later.
Does Carlton have an episode this final season that you're most excited about fans experiencing? And if so, what can you tease about that episode?
Ah, man. The final episode. I think, yeah, I think the final episode of the series is just I think it's the best episode of the whole show. Yeah, season 4, episode 10, I think is just a truly, truly beautiful and layered episode. And it again, we were because we shoot the show sequentially, and so we were shooting that last episode as we were wrapping the season. And it just you can tell, you can see it on the screen. You see the love that we all have for each other.
Now, I have to go back to when some years ago, when the fans, reporters, readers of the original series heard about Morgan's dramatic trailer and that Will Smith caught notice of it and that we were going to get a dramatic version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air series. And everyone was like, this sounds interesting. We can't wait to deep dive into this. So, my question for you is two parts. What was your relationship with the original show? And then what was your reaction when you got cast to play Carlton in this dramatic retelling of Morgan's version?
I mean, look, I so the original show finished airing in 1996. I was born in 98, but the original show finished airing in 1996. I was born in 1998. And so I never got the chance to watch it live, every single week. But I've seen every single episode, and I think that speaks to the power of the show that I wasn't even alive when it was airing, and yet I've seen every episode, a lot of them multiple times. It was just such a staple in culture, internationally, everywhere. And so to find out, first of all, finding out I got the audition, my first instinct was no. Oh my goodness, like what am I gonna be able to do that Alfonso didn't already do? I just think he did it, and I think it's interesting, right? When we are as artists, as entrepreneurs, as people with ambition, when we're faced with the challenge that we have hoped for, a lot of times our first instinct is no, 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 no. Like I wanted an opportunity, but I didn't want it this big, right? And so that was kind of my first thought of what am I gonna do? And then I scroll to the bottom of the audition and I see um, this isn't the sitcom. We don't want you to do anything like the sitcom. This is different. And so on a whim, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something completely. I'm going to give a character that is just so completely different that they either love it or they're like, you know what? It's not for you, but at least I can say that I gave it my all. And so getting that phone call from my agent because what's funny is at the time I was working at a gym. And so my agent calls me and he says, Ollie, I have some terrible news. You're gonna have to tell the gym that you're quitting because I believe I'm speaking to Mr. Banks. Man, man, that was, I mean, it was surreal. It was incredible. But then after wanting something, right, after trying and trying to get something, I remember the thought immediately hit me of, okay, now I have to do this. Now I have to really lock in and kill it. And I think I can say I did.
Now that's a perfect segue into my next question, as you were just kind of highlighting. Alfonso's Carlton Banks is iconic, right? So how have you made Bel-Air's version of Carlton your own while honoring what came before?
I always say that they're both fundamentally the same character. They're both characters with ambition who hold themselves and the people around them to a very high standard, and have had to sacrifice a lot of who they are for the environment that they're in. And I think the only real difference that I approached it with was here we are in, 2025. What does this teenager really genuinely look like? Once we don't have to play things for laughs, when we really get to peel back the layers, what does this character really, really look like? And so Alfonso's version obviously was kind of the bedrock and the foundation for Carlton, but with my version of Carlton, I just wanted to strip it down. I just really wanted to look at is this, who is this teenager at his core, and how can I bring that to light?
What do you hope fans take away from Carlton's story and journey this season as the series comes concludes?
Man, that is a good question. I think love of oneself, right? I think that Carlton was where he was at the beginning of the series because of a lack of love for himself. And I think the thing that he finds throughout this journey, through his newfound brotherhood with Will, is a learning to love himself. And so I think that is what I hope that people find. I hope people find the importance of just self-love and self-acceptance. And with that comes sort of the rest of everything else that you need to to be happy in life, I think.
So, Ali, let me ask you, I mean, looking beyond Bel-Air, I mean, what's next for you? Any roles, projects, creative directions you're excited to explore? I mean, we know you're into music. Can you
Hmm.
give us a preview of what's coming musically? Are there any new releases or collaborations on the horizon?
Man, right now, I'm in this really, really beautiful spot that I honestly didn't really expect to be in at such a young age of, coming off this show, I'm getting a lot of scripts. I'm reading kind of everything. I'm having meetings with some of the best filmmakers in the industry to sort of see what it is I do next. And that feels like a very special, but also really delicate place because I think the next thing that I choose to do is going to be um, it's going to be really, really important. So right now I'm still kind of in the surveying phase. I'm reading a lot. I spend a lot of time in here, actually, in my studio. I'm working on music. I'm working on an EP right now. Or probably it's either an EP, an album, it sort of depends on how many songs I feel speak to the moment. Um, I did just release a collaboration with a longtime friend of mine called I Like It. Uh, and I take a lot of pride in my work and a lot of care in my work. And so good things take time. And I think where I'm at with my artistry right now is I want to give my work the time that it requires to be great. And yeah, that's what I can say. There's stuff, there's different irons in the oven, but I'm never allowed to talk about anything until an announcement's made. So y'all know when it happens.
You've built your own label. Is it
Mm.
called Lamentin?
Lamenton, yeah, Lamenton
Lamentin
Records.
Records.
Yeah.
So, what does creative independence mean to you, and how does running your own label shape the music you're working on and the music you want to put out?
Like I said, it goes back to being intentional. It goes back to being really, really intentional. Have over the 4 years, I've really honed in on what my artistry is. What are the things I want to say? What do I want to sound like, look like? I've directed a lot of my own music videos. I've creative directed a lot of my own music videos, a lot of my photo shoots. Like that has been really, really important to me. It's interesting though, because I'm at this point now where scale is also important. And I think independence is important, but scale and the ability to reach people on a wide um, level is also important. So I'm actually in the midst of finding sort of larger partners to partner with to amplify my sound and amplify my label. That is what creative independence is, right? The ability to make a choice, whether you do want to stay truly, truly independent without any strings attached and any obligations. And there's a lot of pros to that, but there's also cons or whether you want to partner with a bigger machine and get plugged into those resources. But I think being able to do the independence first really, really gives you a good understanding of the things that you need and the things that you don't need from the big machine.